Hi, everybody. We're just going live. Hi, Connie, Diane, Sheila. Sheila? Got it right. Diane's in Knoxville, Tennessee. Okay, let me put the title in. Oh, Katie. I got to turn on the volume. There we go. Okay, hi everybody. So I am Blake Cabot. I am the owner of FacePaintcom, and I'm here today with Pam Kinneberg. Hey, Gilbert.
Hi, everyone.
And we're going over winter designs today. And Pam is amazing, as always. You guys saw our stencils and our Christmas designs before, and we decided to go with the winter theme, continue on. Now, a few quick announcements. The next webinar is going to be New Year's Designs with Zuri Johnson on December 16th at 6 p.m. Eastern. And we have a, we're having a giveaway on FacePaint.com for our Craze Neon palette. We're expecting Craze to be in stock, I don't know, sometime in the next couple weeks. More new stuff. We got a new palette coming out. Anyway, more to be done. And with that, there's the giveaway. And hello, everybody. So hello, Antoinette. Hello, Denora. Hey, Maria. We translate Spanish. Always good thing. Hi, Therese. And so with that, I think I will give this over to Pam.
All right. Sweet. Well, welcome, everyone. I am going to do some winter designs like Blake had said. And the first one I'm going to do, I decided to put it on myself so that you could see it actually on a person. And this is meant to be a really quick sort of line buster. It could be a boy or a girl design. And easy to paint, just a couple steps. And we're going to start with that. And let's get going. I'm going to start with using a 3/4 inch flat brush from the Art Factory. And I'm going to be using the
Hi, Annie.
Craze, let me see if I can get this the right way, the Craze Sea Wave one stroke. I love this one because it has a little purple included with the blues, so that gives it a little bit added depth and dimension and interest. So I also have the full-size one, or I think I have the full-size one. Anyway, the one stroke is great and it works really super great for this design. So we're going to start with this. And load my brush. These also are domed. You can sort of see that that middle part is raised and the ends go down a little bit so that your water doesn't like create a hole in the middle of your one stroke. So that's a really nice plus to these one strokes. So I'm just going to load my brush.
Hi, Susan.
Just going to go back and forth.
We were just in St. Louis. Pam and I were both in St. Louis.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
I got to meet Blake for the first time. He's a great guy. You're a great guy. I'm not talking behind your back. You're like right here.
Yeah, no, you can say that in front of me. I'm willing to accept it. And we've got Western Australia. Hi, Carmen.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
So it is what, 6 o'clock in the morning or something like that in Western Australia? Dear Lord.
Oh, that's early. Well, thanks for joining. Oh my goodness. All right, so I'm going to, what you want to do is start from the corner of the eye with the white in the corner. And actually, when I do it on the eye, I kind of start with my brush like this, and then I turn as I go, and then I go up, so that the dark remains kind of on the outer edge. So that's how I'm going to do this. And you just kind of twist the brush around and go up. I ran out a little bit of water there, so I'm going to load again. The brush was a little dry.
7 a.m. 7 a.m. in Australia.
Okay, I'm going to try that one more time.
Okay.
Just like that, and you want a nice little curve on the end of it there.
Mm-hmm.
As always, doing this on a practice board is slightly different than doing it on your face, as these practice boards aren't exactly the way a child's face is. They're a little bit larger, but you get the idea, and they work really, really good. So I'm just loading my brush again, make sure I have enough paint, and then I'm going to do the stroke along the cheekbone. And typically this blue or purple is going to be coming down to the corner. So I'm just going to fill that in a little bit there so we know what we're doing. And then I'm going to go from the corner of the eye right here. I'm going to go up and then down and curve it kind of down this way in one fell swoop here. So up and down like that, so that you get sort of a funky S shaped. And that gives it some nice flow and interest to do it like that. So now I'm done with this color. Actually, I kind of want this to be a little longer, so I'm just going to extend that just a little bit. There we go.
Hi, Maggie from South Australia. So there's a lot of Australians.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I have never been to Australia. This is one of the oversights of my life. I've been almost everywhere else, but I have not been to Australia. It's a mistake.
Well, I have not been almost everywhere else, and definitely not to Australia. So you got me beat on that.
I probably have, but I don't think it's a great honor. I think, yeah, it's more fun seeing places where you know somebody.
Yeah, true. Okay, so I'm going to take one of these. I think these orange ones are a Mayron hydrofoam sponge, I believe. And I love these for stencils. So I just sprayed the sponge with water, and then I'm going to load some paint on it. And this is Craze white paint here. It's just in an old container, the original container, but it is their paint. And I'm just loading up the sponge, making sure that it's not too wet. And so you rub it over quite a bit of times, if you can see, just rubbing it over the paint till it just sort of is tacky. And I always sort of test it on my hand, and that's really it's not too wet. So then I'm using this stencil. It's a Diva stencil. It's called Pink Flower. I like this because it's
called Pink Flower?
It's called Tink's Flower, like Tinkerbell, I believe. Got it.
Okay.
So Tink's Flower.
Okay.
It has a lot of space around it, so you're not gonna like go outside the edges with your sponge. So it's a really great stencil to use for a lot of stuff. So I'm gonna position it right kind of where this curve is, right here. And I'm not gonna do the whole flower, I'm not gonna move it way up, I'm just gonna do part of it. So, and I'm only going to try to get white on this upper half, like right here. So I'm gonna sponge it out. And I'm gonna try to avoid getting it into the blue swoop that I did with my
We got Barcelona and Malaga.
And you can also spray some glitter on top of that. That's just white glitter. And then there you have your first stencil right in that little curve. And then I'm gonna do one more down in the bottom about right here. And again, I'm only going to do a portion of it. So I line it up so that the blue meets right up with these two top petals. And then I'm going to sponge those. Tap the sponge over it, make sure you get in all the little nooks and crannies, and then I'm going to spray that with glitter and pull my stencil off. And so there you have your stencils in position. And I always keep one of these really funky unicorn brushes in my kit. The kids always comment on this. They want me to use this on their face. So what I can't really be used for paint necessarily, but what I use it for is to remove all excess glitter off of their face if it's gotten sort of everywhere, and they think it's the greatest. So I just brush around and brush all of that extra glitter off. Like so.
Joyce asks, you said your tacky tip works great. I've adapted it to her stencil application.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome, yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I always think about that as like, is it tacky enough? So awesome. Super.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maria says it's hard for her to practice on a board.
Yeah. You know what? It takes some time to learn how to do that. I have struggled with it for a while, and with everything, it just takes practice because it is very different than painting on skin. It just, the paints go on it different, the stencils go on it different. But you can learn, you know, after repeated trying to do it, you can learn to do it correctly. And these particular practice boards are really my favorite. They work so much better than any practice board I've ever had. So I'd encourage, if you don't have these Svetlana practice boards, to get at least one of these and give it a try. They work really good. All right, so we got that part down, and then we're just going to do some line work, and I'm using a 2 round blazing brush by Marcella Bustamante, and I'm going to use the white again and load it up. And there's only just a few lines that we have to do on this one. But first, well, actually, one of the things that works well, or that you need to remember on this design, is there is a line that goes right here, and there's dots that go in the corner of the eye. And when you look at the design, you'll know, but I try to make that a straight so that it joins up with each other. It's not going to be in the middle here. It's just going to be on one end and the other. So you'll see that. So I kind of have this imaginary line going in. I'm going to put 3 little dots right here. And then up here, I go straight up here, and I'm going to just draw this line across. So your eye connects those 2 areas. And then once I have that part down, I'm just going to do a teardrop from the corner of this down to the corner of the eye, like so. So now I've got this little swash going right there. And then I'm going to put another teardrop that crosses over it and goes down to the corner just like that. So this is really just built around teardrops and such. And then down here, I'm going to do another, I'm just going to fix this right here. I'm going to do another little curved teardrop that goes into the center of that flower, just sort of touches it. And then you're going to follow this curve going up with another teardrop. Like that. So you got the line there. And then I put another line right here, sort of like almost like a tribal line that kind of follows the curve here, and then another teardrop right there to end that one. And then 3 teardrops that go into the corner of the eye, starting from right here. It's hard to do these. I'm going to turn this board. There's 1, 2, 3. So there you have 3. And so that's all that you need for the white. I'm going to make this one a little darker here so you can see it. Sometimes on these practice boards, you have to go over your lines so you can see them a little better.
Mm-hmm.
There you go, so you can see that. All right, so at this point, now I'm just gonna add some glitter and we're done. I use this is what I use for loose chunky glitter, is this Global Body Art Face and Body Paint. It's real, it's like a gel and it's really sparkly. And I just put it in a little bottle and carry it with me in my kit. But it's just in there like that. And then I take a little flat brush it's just a craft brush that I had. And it's just a flat, like 1/4 inch. And dip a little bit in here. And then I just put this on it's like a glue for the glitter. And I just put it where I'm gonna put my glitter. And so then I'm just putting it right there. And then I'm using this is my stack of glitters for my Vivid loose chunky glitters. And I'm gonna use this middle one. It's called Beyond. Yes, I'm gonna use this middle blue one.
Patty says she's a big fan of this lady and her playful imagination.
Oh, thank you so much. That's really sweet, Patty. All right, so I'm just gonna dip it in here, and you see it's still tacky because I've got a little bit of that gel on my brush, and then just dab it right onto where I put the gel on the board so that it goes right where you want it.
Mm-hmm. Instead of a poofable bottle where it kind of just goes all over the place.
Right, exactly. And it's kind of going all over the place now just because this is a practice board and it doesn't take it the same way that your face does.
Right.
So I'm just going to get it on here, and then I'm going to blow, get the rest of that off. And some of this paint was still a little wet here. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to push it over with a brush, get it off of there.
And feel free to ask questions, everybody. I don't have a lot of responsibility in this. It's clearly pretty obvious. So my only responsibility is to ask questions. So feel free.
Sorry, this glitter kind of went everywhere. I think there was a little static electricity on here too. So anyway, It's supposed to be in that one little spot right there. And then to finish it off, I'm going to quick cover my glitter so that it doesn't spill all over the place. I use this silver liquid bling, and I always carry this in my kit. It's just great to have because the reason I love this is because it looks like you've put gems on someone. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot faster than putting little tiny gems on someone's face, but it looks like little tiny gems. So all I'm going to do with this is I'm going to put some little dots at the end of each one of these points on my little flower, and then in the center too. And it's just a cute, cute look. So I put one in the middle, just like that. Mm-hmm. And then I go out from each petal. And I do 3 little dots there, 3 little dots, 3 little dots. It just creates sort of a starburst, but they're really sparkly. And I'll do the same on this bottom part right here. One in the center, and then my dots. And you can do this super quick when you are on the job if you're not talking about it. But you see that there, I'm going to lift it up and try to turn it so that you can see how the sparkle is on it.
Very cool. Couple questions. And thanks, Diane. My mic was too close, I guess. So I tried to move it away. And the one is, it's a bit of a Thor's helmet vibe. Let's say that. And question, Patty wanted to know what is easy for you to design. Is it easier for you to design using practice boards, or does she use other methods?
I kind of use a combination. I wanted to show you this when we're talking about that, is when I come up with designs, I first go to the web and I find, like, the theme of this was winter. So I went to Pinterest and just typed in winter art. And so I look at I don't look at face painting designs. I just look at artwork and illustrations. And I just kind of try to get myself in the theme of winter and some winter things. And so this is what I create, is things that just capture my attention when I'm looking through winter art. And I gather them in a little folder on my computer desktop, and then I just put them all on one sheet. And so I have all of these images of winter that spur some sort of imagination in my mind, or, oh, I could do something like that, or I could take that idea and I could apply it here, and oh, I like that color combination type of thing. So this is kind of where I start, and then I draw it out on a practice sheet with pencil, typically before I start practicing on a practice board. And sometimes I don't even go to a practice board. I practice it on my own face instead. And so
somebody asked, how much do you use Bling on the job?
I don't use Bling on the job at all unless it's a pay-per-face event. And when it's a pay-per-face event, then it's an add-on to my design. So they have to pay like an extra amount of money to have a piece of Bling. But on my regular jobs, when I'm paid to come to an event and paint for, let's say, 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever, I'm gonna wipe this off because I need this board for the next design. I don't use Bling then, simply because it's not added in. Oh, what happened?
Oops, what happened? Your camera went off?
Okay, let's see here.
Uh-oh.
Low battery. Uh-oh, I'm gonna have to plug this in. Hang on a second.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, let me plug it in quick.
Yeah. Next time I'll write that as a note and make sure it's plugged in.
Hang on.
We have a question in French, which I'm looking forward to try to figure out.
Sorry. All right, I'm almost done.
Okay. Saki, while we're getting this figured out, Saki was asking, she has a hard time using liquid glitter. There's too much pressure, not enough when straight lines are not.
Right, again, oh, I understand that. I totally get it. It takes some practice. Okay, I'm just trying to get this back in position here.
Thanks, Meredith. Google Translate was there for me too.
Sorry, I moved my thing here, so I need to get it back in. How does that work? Yeah, perfect.
Looks good.
Okay, so the liquid Bling is what she's talking about. Yeah, you know, one thing that I learned, I was in Mark Reed's class, and he was talking about how to use these liquid wings. They have he has a line of his own. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, it takes practice to learn how to do these without getting a big glob out. And a really great idea is to get one of these and just write right on it, practice. And you only use this one for practice. And so you practice putting glitter on in more of a lighter application. And you can just practice on your arm and practice on your arm. And just with everything, it takes practice to learn how to do that. And then when you're done, you've got your whole arm filled up with all this practice stuff, then all you do is you go back and you suck it back up into, or actually you can remove the cap. I think you can remove the cap or something. Anyway, what he did is he sucked it all back up into the jar and then
Mm-hmm.
just practiced all over again. So you're not like wasting the whole thing. You can use it over and over and over again for practice.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do, you don't want to use that one for regular one because you've gotten your own skin cells and stuff in the jar. But buy one and just practice with it, and then it goes right back in. I think with his, you can get this top part off, and then
But you can't.
but you can't. I don't know if with the liquid bling, but with the other one, I think this cap part comes off, and then you can get it all. You just scoop it all back right up into the jar, put the cap back on, and practice some more.
Mm-hmm.
But just practice with the amount of pressure that you put on, and keeping your jar probably at an angle,
Mm-hmm.
and then it just comes out a lot less than getting these big globs and stuff. So that's just I guess my only recommendation is to practice on that, because it definitely is a learned thing.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I get a little bit too much on too, but lately I'm able to control it a little better just because I've done it for a while.
Right. A couple
Okay.
people from France want to say hi. Southwest of France, and somebody from Paris.
Sweet. Wow.
Yeah.
Hi. That's so awesome that you're joining us. Paris.
It is.
Boy, that's fancy. All right.
They had some awfully good food. Actually, France they just mastered green beans.
Oh, really?
Incredible.
Oh, it would have
Yeah.
been the first thing I would have thought of.
Haricot vert. It's just stunningly good.
Sweet. Okay, I'm going to start on the next design. It is a pine cone design. So it's like something that you see around in the winter. It's going to have some sort of snow type stuff on it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just give the eye, it's just going to be a side design. It's not going to be a whole face design. So I'm just going to give some color to the eyelid area. And so I'm using one of these petal sponges. I like those for the eyelids because this end has a really narrow point and it doesn't get all over this part, it just gets a nice little area in the eye, and it keeps you from getting it too messy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to use this. It's called Mermaid Pixie Rainbow Cake. You can also use, this is a craze one that's very similar. I'm just missing some of the blue in here because I've used this so much. It's such a good cake. I love this one. And this one is Nebula. And I love this one, but I need to get some of this blue in there. So that's why I'm using this one for this particular webinar here. But
hey,
I'm
Sharon.
gonna
Somebody from Portsmouth, UK.
Hello, somebody from Portsmouth, UK. Thanks for joining us. So I'm just rubbing across, getting all of these initial colors. I'm going to kind of avoid getting the purple. So I've just got the blues and the greens on here. And it takes a little bit to get some of that white. You got to really kind of get that in there. All right, and then I'm just going to sponge that on the eyelid.
Leslie loves the mermaid colors.
Oh, thanks. This is like my favorite color scheme. If you look back at all my designs that I do, I use these colors a lot. Okay, so there's the eyelid.
Mm-hmm.
And once we have that, we're going to do some pine tree bows. That's how you do it. I'm going to take, again, this 3/4 inch Art Factory brush, and I'm going to use this split cake that I made myself. I used it last time on my webinar for Christmas designs, and I'm using it again. It works really great for pine cone or pine bows. I like the fact that it has blue in it, so it's not just green. It gives a really warmer, or well, that's a cool color, but it just gives a really nice look to the greens when you have blue in there. So
Patty asked, what were your favorite cakes for Christmas?
Oh, I don't really have a favorite cake for Christmas yet. I'm still looking for a favorite cake for Christmas.
Well, you'd be happy to know that we are working on your poinsettia one from last time, but it's going to take us a while. We got to get the samples in.
I have not, Patty, I've not found my favorite Christmas cake. So I can't even recommend one because I struggle with the ones that I have. I just feel like they're not, maybe I just have the wrong ones, but yeah, that's my answer. I don't have one yet. Before I do this part of it, I'm going to take some, what color is this? This is Fab Dark Brown. I've repotted it into a narrower case so that I can put it in my Craft and Go and it doesn't take up so much room. But I'm going to just make the branches of this pine bough. And I'm going to put one there. And I'm going to put one right here. And I'm doing this first. This is sort of a background. And I'm going to put one there. So that's where my pine branches are going to go. And so loading up, my brush dried out here while I was talking. So I'm loading it up again. And so I have it loaded up. And then to make the pine branches, you just hold your brush straight up and down. And I have the darker color in the center, but you could do it either way. Really would be fine either way. And then you just go down that center line. And you can sort of make these at varying, you know, it's not perfectly even. You can sort of move your brush back and forth and make them at varying, so that they're not a perfectly smooth edge. It's just a little bit more, kind of a little bit more realistic that way. So I've got one side and then go back in. Let's see if I can do it this way so you can see. And then you just do the other side. And I'm not holding it up and down straight just because I want you to see, but I would hold it up and down straight if you were actually doing this. And then just turn your brush so that, so there you see, I've got that part. I'm going to let that dry because I've got one more step to do there. And then I'm going to do the same to these. Just like
another
so.
person from France, Lucy.
Hi, Lucy. Thanks for joining us.
And Lucy, if you need to see this from the beginning on FacePaintcom's Facebook page, we're going to be publishing this afterwards, so you can see it from the beginning if you miss anything.
Just going down with these. So there I've got the start to my branches, and then I'm going to load one more time with my one stroke. And then I'm going to, what I'm going to do for the final step on these pine branches is I'm going to go down the center and put needles down the center. And so I sort of just start on going down like this.
Cool.
And so that you don't see that dark thing in it. One thing that is good to do is to make sure that you have your light color, and I'm going to kind of clean this up. But you see that light green? I want to pick up more of that light green, and I had sort of made it sort of messy when I loaded it. So I'm going to reload it just so that it works better, because then you can see what the tip of the needle is like. So let me do that one more time. So I'm just fresh start. I'm going to try to get that, see that light area on my brush? I want to get that light. That's a much better load. So now I'm going to start again. And so you can see where those light areas are.
Yeah.
It's hard to see from there. Anyway, I'll get a few more on here. But that gives dimension. It brings those more to the foreground because those would be closer to you because they're would be coming out from the center.
So in France, this gives her an idea for a design for tomorrow for a diabetes association for children.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Okay, loading my brush again. Again, these practice boards, you know, they don't work like the skin, so this is just a little more difficult getting this correct on here, but if you can see that closer, do you see how that that center part looks a little like the branches are coming, like the needles are coming more towards you? And so I'm going to do that here and on this one. And just alternate from side to side and center, side to side and center, just like that.
Patty says that 2D looks 3D, and she loves it.
Thank you, Patty. You're so nice. Okay, so now that we've got that, we come to the pine cone, and this is where I wanted to show you kind of how to do a really simple, pretty easy pine cone, and it looks really realistic. I'm taking a Mark Reed's number 4 round brush. I'm not taking a petal brush or a specific one. This is just a regular number 4 round brush. And I'm gonna start by loading it with white, but before I start, I'm gonna quadruple load this brush. And I'm gonna load it with white, with Fab Light Brown, that's this color right there. This is Superstar Berry Wine, and this is Fab Dark Brown. So I'm loading it with all of these colors. So when you do that, what I do is before I begin loading, I take these colors here. I'm going to show you over here. And I spritz them with water. Get them a little wet. You don't have to get them really wet, just a little wet. And then I set them aside so they're all ready to go once I need them. And then I'm going to continue by loading my brush completely with white first. So I've got the whole thing loaded with white. And this takes practice to know how much water, the consistency of your paint. You don't want it too wet, otherwise it's going to be a big blob on the skin. So, but you want a lot of paint in there so that you can, so it sort of has to be a little thick. All right, so I've loaded my brush with white.
Connie says she's been wanting to learn a pine cone.
Oh,
and Meredith is admitting to the truth that we all know, is that she has a Mark Reed brush, but she can't read the number.
Oh, I can barely read it. In fact, you want to see my secret to knowing what this number is? Da, da, da! A magnifying glass. Oh, it's a number 4. I don't carry that with me in my kit. Okay, so once you have your brush loaded like this, I take a sponge and I just drag it, the end of it, along the sponge so that I remove some of the white off the tip. So you can sort of see that the tip is not as white as the rest of it. And then the first color I'm going to load it with is this, and I think that I've lost my wetness because I've talked too much. So I'm going to spray these again. But I shouldn't have had to have done that if I would have done it, quickly. So then I'm going to load quite a bit of this on there. I want it to go up like at least halfway up the brush. Like that. Oh, here we go. Kind of like that. And then I'm going to take a little bit off of the brown and load it in my berry wine. And that goes up about 1/4 of the way. I mean, you don't have to be exact, but I'm just kind of, so, okay. Looks like that. And then just the tip of it off and just the tip of it in here. So you just get a little bit of it on the tip. I don't know if you can see that, but there you go. That's how it's loaded. And then with the pine cone, you're going to start on the tip of the pine cone, not at the fat end, but on the tip. This is going to be an upside down pine cone. It's going to go like this. Here's the tip, and here's the fat part at this side and the tip. So I'm going to start loading at this end, and I want the white part to be at the top. So I'm going to have the tip about right here, and I'm going to press down, and that's your first little, I don't know what you call the little things on pine cones, but that's the first little one. And then I go down in sort of a sort of the shape of the outer part of the pine cone on one side and on the other side. Do you see how it's kind of widening out as I get toward the bottom?
Mm-hmm.
And my brush is drying out a little bit.
Now, is this, Lucy calls this a quadriload. Is this a quadriload?
It is. Yeah, it's loaded with 4 colors. On the bottom, I sort of double tap my brush so that I create a wider drop at the bottom like that. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
So there, I'm going to put one more here at the top because it just needed it. So that's the first part of my pine cone. And before I do the center part, I'm going to, because I want that to sort of dry, so I'm going to actually do a couple more things up on these pine branches, because now they are dry and I can do some paint on top of them. So I'm going to just do a couple of additional branches that are just strictly a branch. So I'm loading this dark, fab dark brown, and I'm going to do sort of some squiggly branches, sort of like, you know, like the twisted willow branches. I can't remember what they're called. But I'm just going to vary the pressure and the angle of my brush to create sort of a squiggly kind of organic line. So I'm going to start from the corner, and I'm going to go up and go out like that. So it's sort of like a real organic, natural branch. And then I'm going to do the same like here and bring that down. And maybe one right there. These look better on my other one, but this will have to do. This one got a little thick. And this one got a little thick, but there you go. You get the idea.
Absolutely.
Okay, so with that being done, I want it to dry off. The other thing about these boards is they don't dry very quickly. So it's hard to put color on top of color on these boards because it takes forever for these things to dry. Whereas on the face, it dries pretty much instantly. So now what I'm going to do is I'm reloading my brush in the quad load again. So I'm going to spritz my cakes here so that they're ready. I'm going to load my white. Like this. And I wonder, is anybody practicing this as we do it? Is anybody doing it with me at all? I wonder. Load my brown and load my berry wine and my dark brown. There, I've got another load. So let's do the center of this pine cone. And I'm going to do it something like I did on these pine branches, where I go from side to side and then in the middle. So I'll do a side and see how much that was too watery. So I'm going to kind of take off some of the end, but right there, it's way too much paint. So I'm just gonna double tap this. It'll be fine, we'll cover it up. I'm gonna do like that, off to the side, and one in the center. Like
everybody's taking notes. Nobody's doing it along with you because they don't want to miss anything.
That's fine. And then we're going to do one in the center, one off to the side, off to the other side, in the center, side, side, and then one kind of at the bottom. Isn't that cool? It goes really, really quick. And it looks just like a pine cone. I'm going to hold it a little closer. And what I like about using that berry wine in there is that it just really gives it a nice added color rather than just all brown. It's a really deep, I love this berry wine. It's a really deep, rich color. So it just gives it some added, I don't know, it's just not all one color. It's got that really rich red in there. And then I'm going to put some of those pine cone looking like petals up on my branches that I just did. So at this point, I have to reload my brush again because just with the nature of this board, it needs that.
People are loving this design.
Oh, sweet.
Uh, Meredith says that she could see a gold eyelid going well with that, which I could too.
Yeah, you could do lots of different things. What I had in mind with this color scheme is that this was sort of like an evening sky, sort of a dark blue kind of sky sort of color. That's what I had in mind.
Saki says that all you're missing is a squirrel.
Well, I've got those right outside my window. I'll
Yeah,
tell you
you
the
could have that.
story. Tell you the story of my squirrel while I do these. I'm just going to pull my brush up and then press down. Pull my brush and then press down. So something like this, like that.
Oh, Patty wants a picture of the designs.
I have them.
Okay.
I will send them to you, Blake, and then you can post them.
Okay, great. Or you can just post them on after this. It'll be a Facebook post, and you can just add it to it.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
I'm just adding a few little of those so that it spreads some of this coloring up into the other part of the design. But what I was gonna, while I get my next thing ready, I was gonna tell you about my squirrel story. We have a front deck. We have chairs out there with little pads on them. And I went out there just about a week ago, and we had brought most of them in. It's winter here, there's snow on the ground. I had brought most of the pads in, the cushions in, but there was one still out there, and it had a big hole in it, and part of the stuffing was gone out of the cushion. And I'm like, well, what in the world? How did this happen?
Right.
Well, it was not a couple days later, but we looked out on the front deck, and here was a little squirrel, just a tiny one. He had made a little hole in there, and he was busy pulling out all the stuffing out of my cushions. Bringing it back to his home somewhere.
Yeah.
Having a gay old time meanwhile he's ruining my entire cushion. So thanks a lot, little squirrel. So yes, we do have them. So I'm putting just some little berries. I love this color again. It works really good. It's not red. It's just a really rich burgundy red. So I'm just putting various sizes of berries, not all the same size. You want to kind of vary because in nature, they're not all the same size. And then I'm just going to put a few like just right down here.
Awesome. Another Australian's joining us. Another question came from, Diane's painting along, even though she doesn't have quite the color.
Okay, great. Awesome.
And Lucy says, I'll have to try and test if the pine branch's placement isn't giving a furry brow effect as it is embracing the eyebrow. Oh,
well, on this practice board, you see, look at how much room is between the eye and the top of the lid. This isn't a realistic proportions of what someone's actual face is. The eyebrow would be more, down in this area. This type of little branch certainly doesn't look like an eyebrow. I'm going to show you a picture of it that I did on myself. This is the picture I'll be posting, but if you can see, that doesn't look like an eyebrow. It looks like a branch, at least to me it does. So that's kind of some idea there. Okay, once we have this part down, then we're going to put a little bit of snow on the pine branches.
What brand of red are you using?
This for the berries. This is Superstar Berry Wine.
Okay.
It's a beautiful color.
What were you? Yeah, okay. That's what somebody was asking earlier, Susan, as well.
Okay, and so to put snow, I just kind of make little dots, kind of organic little masses sporadically on the ends of these. And I don't do, I try to make them very unstructured, so it's not like it develops a pattern or something, but I kind of vary the position and I sort of join some of the spots together so that it's not just a bunch of dots. And these go on super quick. And I can put some like on the branches. So like there's snow resting on them, like that. And then I'm going to put some highlights in these little berries to make them pop a little bit better. like so. And then if you want to, if you have time, you know how pine cones have a little bit of a sharp pointed end to all of the little petal things that they've got going on there? If you want to, when you have your white paintbrush out, you can go in and, you know, just give them a little point. And even if you just did it on a few of them, it just takes seconds to do it. And you already have white on your brush. Do you see the difference there? So they look a little bit pointier.
Everybody's loving this design. Tricia loves it. Deborah loves it. Everybody's crazy about it.
Awesome. I have one. Thank you so much. That makes me happy. I have one. Well, actually, I'm going to put a few little wisps. Sometimes we have little wisps of branches coming down. So with the dark brown, I'm just going to kind of add just some little pieces that would be maybe coming up off the pine cone like that, coming out like so, just to give it a little bit added things in some of these areas, like so. Okay, so once I've done that, then, oh, this is the really, really cool part that I'm so excited about is I'm gonna take this liquid bling. It is sparkle white, and I had to have it. I got it sent to me really quick because I needed it for this design because it's gonna work so good. But on top of these, all of these little snowy areas, you're gonna put some of this white liquid bling on top of that. So it's gonna be like dimensional snow that's sparkly, you know, and we all love
cool
snow. So just put it on top of where all your white is. And since you already have white down there, it's, you know, this is sort of transparent. But you already have white, so it's going to really have that white sparkly look to it, and it's going to look like sparkly snow in the branches. You could put it on top of these areas, and then you can also put some on the ends of the pine cone and give them sparkle too. And there you have it.
That is great.
And I have a little gap in between my eyelid and the pine and the rest of it. I didn't intend for that, but there you go. You get the idea. And see if you can see the sparkle on that. It's hard to see. Can't really see the sparkle of that. I can see it. Anyway, there you go. So there is the pine cone eye.
There you did it.
I feel like I need to come off of here and put a little connector there. Okay, so there's that one. Anybody have questions on this one, or should we move on? What time is it getting to be? Oh, we are like almost done.
We got 8 minutes.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna do a quick one. This one is really great. It's really quite funny. It's called My Frozen Face. And it's a really super quick one. I can get this done easily in 8 minutes. And I'm going to use a 4-inch round brush. Oops, actually. Hang on one second.
Saki's going to use this to, if I pronounce that right, Saki. We're going to use that tomorrow.
Awesome. Okay, so I always carry this in my kit. It's just a dry rouge youth red and a kabuki brush. And so this is super easy to use to give rosy cheeks in a really big hurry. So you're going to start, even though this practice board already does have pretty rose cheeks, on your kids that you're doing, they won't always have as rosy of cheeks. So start out by doing this, because this is what our faces look like when we come in from the cold. We have very rosy cheeks. So we start with that, and then take your white paint, and we're going to do something really fun. Okay, so we're going to I'm going to start on this side, and I'm going to make it look like our eyebrows are snowy, first of all. So just create Almost like snow has fallen and it's accumulated on the eyebrow. And I wiggled the brush around a little bit so it's not like a really smooth line.
Mm-hmm.
And you can bring it down like this, like, you know, the snow is sort of dripping down.
Ah.
Like that. And then do the other side. And I wouldn't do them both identical. I would do them different.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a good idea to bring the sides down like that because it's kind of the side of the face. And I'm just going to painting white with a round brush on a practice board doesn't always, but when you do it on a face, it works really good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there you've got snow coming down there, and then you're going to give him, her, whoever you're painting, a little snowy mustache. And again, you bring the sides down like that, like it's kind of an icicle coming down. And then the other side. Again, both sides don't have to be identical. I'm going to put like 2 little icicles coming down this side. One comes
Very welcome, Saki. Lucy thinks this looks awesome.
Thank you. Okay, so there you have your snowy eyebrows, and I add a little bit of shadow with light blue. I'm using Craze light blue here for this.
Mm-hmm.
That, and then I just put that like on the undersides so that you're giving that shadow. Here we go.
Zuri's here.
Hey, Zuri.
He's going to be doing this next week.
Awesome.
For New Year's designs. Well, you missed a great Pinecone, Zuri.
Zuri. Is that with a Z?
It is.
Okay.
She lives over near me. She lives over in New Jersey.
Awesome. So this way it gets a little color in there too, little dimension.
Mm-hmm.
Give some shape to those frozen areas, snowy areas, like so. Actually, my shadow should have been on this side. Okay, so you got that. And then what I do is I take a snowflake stencil. And of course.
And what do you call this? Because if you call it frozen design, Lucy points out that everybody's thinking that's the movie.
Sure, I say frozen face, but
okay.
You know, you can call it whatever. You can come up with something more creative than that. I'm sure somebody out there is going to be super creative and figure out what to call it. I know it. Okay, so then I'm just loading white on a sponge, and I'm going to put some snowflakes on here. So I've got this BAM stencil with these individual snowflakes, and I'm going to put one right up here.
Icy face.
Icy face, that's good. I like it. So I got a snowflake there, and then I'm going to put one right here also, just to give it another little feature. Look at that! There we go.
There you go.
So there you have a fun, and boys think this is so cool. Girls too, but it's a great boy and girl design because it's always so hard to find boy designs sometimes, but this one is just fun and funky and they get into that. So there you go.
Yep, cool. That's terrific.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much, Pam.
You're welcome.
Susan says, thank you, Pam. You rock. I need this for this weekend.
Oh, good. I'm so glad I helped. That's
Jack
awesome.
Frost
Thank you
is
so
another
much.
good name. That's a good
Oh,
name.
Jack Frost. I
That's
love
even better.
that.
That's even better.
That
Yeah,
is
I like that.
awesome.
I like that a lot.
That's perfect.
So we're doing this. We're doing another webinar next week, and it's going to be Missouri, and she is going to be doing some New Year's designs on December 16th at 6 p.m. And thank you very much, Pam.
You're
Sorry,
welcome.
go ahead. And thank you, everybody, for coming. And you feel free to watch it again and learn all the joys that there's. Oh, Jackie or Jack or Jill Frost. There we go.
Oh,
Now we're riffing. Okay. Well, thank you much, everybody, and have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye. Good night.